I just want to say though, at least for me, I don't know about you, but I have no knowledge of Marilyn Monroe. Like, I don't know her life story. I don't know where she came from. Like, I obviously know who she is because she's like an iconic character person, but other than seeing her in like a brand, like seeing her in pictures and stuff, I don't know who she is. So I'm going into the movie not knowing anything of her in real life.
Yeah, I wanted to say the same thing. I was thinking that before starting this video, that we should definitely clarify that we know nothing about her. So yeah, like going into it, like this movie really is like the only thing I know. And I was wondering how much of the movie is actually real. So there's that.
I like no words to say for it. I mean, as a movie, it was very sad, but at the same time, it was what the was even happening?
That's the problem. Yeah, I don't know what was happening. I don't even know. I don't know.
The whole time, I'm just like, am I just like too stupid to understand this movie, or is like what's going on?
Who the hell were those twins that showed up and they were like, "We are the Gemini"? I was like, what is that all about?
At first, I thought she like manifested them. Like, were they even real? But then it turned out they were real. Like, he was what's his name? The chaplain's kid.
Yeah, and like, who was the other guy? Like his brother or something? Like his twin?
I don't freaking know. It didn't make sense. And then they were under the stars talking about Gemini, like you said, the freaking Gemini twins, and then all of a sudden the stars turned into little freaking Siemens. I was like, what's happening?
Was she pregnant like 3 times in the film? Or was the last time just like in her head?
What? She was only pregnant twice.
Why did they show that like fetus again at the end then? They showed it like 3 times, I'm pretty sure. Or was that just her memory of like trauma? See, like the whole thing was just all whacked out. Like, I don't even know what happened.
I didn't even freaking understand the movie. Like, okay, I don't know who Marilyn Monroe is in real life, but they really portrayed her in the movie to be like this girl who didn't even know how to survive off of being on set. Like, was that Marilyn Monroe in real life? Like, I did do some reading of her biography on Wikipedia, and it said that the Wikipedia made it seem like Marilyn Monroe was a very business savvy woman. Like, she knew how to negotiate her own contract, and she knew how to ask for like a higher price in her contract when she was filming. But in the movie, it just seemed like, oh, they kind of like puppeteered her around. Where, oh, right, Norma Jean.
Yeah. I agree.
Like, it seemed like she was just freaking drugged out the whole movie. And even when she was like sober, it seemed like she didn't know how to act. Like, she was just like, oh, when she's in the restaurant with the other men, she was talking like she was just, like a child. Like, she's like,
yeah. I didn't like that. It was starting to really irritate me because she was just really shown to be extremely submissive and like to not really speak her truth in any case scenario. Like, she was like very much like this like battered type of a woman. But what I've actually read about Marilyn Monroe, I don't know much about her, but I've heard that she was actually like a very intelligent woman. So, what you're saying, that she was actually business savvy and stuff, like they didn't show that at all in the movie.
No, they just made it seem like she was freaking tossed around for men.
Yeah, there was one scene where they showed her intelligence when she was sitting across from the Adrian Brody actor, and she was telling him about the character that he wrote about. Do you remember that part?
Are you talking about freaking Magda?
Magda, yeah. And she was telling him about that. And like, that was like a shred. Like, just like one flicker of light where you could actually see her expressing like, like an intelligent thought. But for the rest of the film, I felt like she was just running around screaming and just traumatized.
Okay, this is the problem with this kind of film. It's like, I'm dumb. I don't understand what's going on. I don't even know who that guy was. Like, when he was talking about the 3 sisters, I was like, wait, who the hell is the 3 sisters and who the hell is Natasha? I'm like,
I don't even know what you're talking about.
I feel like when he was talking to the screenwriter, the guy with the glasses in New York, she was like, oh, I read your script, and he was like, oh, I want to be Magda, but like, there's like Natasha, and he was like, oh, you read the other screenplay? I'm like, I'm so lost right now, and I'm angry because I feel dumb. Like, I don't understand what's happening in the movie.
Yeah, at a certain point, I was just like going with the flow of it, and I was like, you know what? I think that this is what it felt like. That's what the director intended to do. Like, they wanted it to feel like a fever dream. They wanted it to feel all like unorganized, and there was no like logistical step by step of like where the story was going. Do you know what I mean?
Worked. I think I do. I appreciate. Like you said, I think the
Cinematography, yeah.
Cinematography. It was a beautiful film because I felt like I was almost as tripped out as Marilyn Monroe in the movie when I was watching it.
Really? That's interesting. I didn't get that.
You weren't tripped out? Dude, I felt like I was on acid.
I felt tripped out, right, for sure. But at the end of the movie, I just felt very disconnected from her. Like, as sad as it sounds, like, I didn't even care that she was gone at the end. Like, because it was just... I didn't feel connected to her. I felt like she was just all over the place, and it was hard to actually get to know her as a human being. Like, the whole thing was just trauma, and like I felt like her character was very one-dimensional, so I wasn't able to actually connect to the character. And then at the end, I just felt so confused by the way that the film was directed, her character. Like, I was just confused about everything. And like, if the film was done in a different way, I know that her death would have affected me more, but like, strangely, it didn't.
I think for me, it's just that from the very beginning, it portrayed Marilyn Monroe to be this girl who was promised that her father would come looking for her. So her character throughout the whole movie was very much her searching for her father, or like that figure in her life, which is why she called all her husbands daddy.
How did you feel about that part?
It was weird.
It was so like, weird.
I was like, why are you calling them your freaking daddy? Because in the beginning, I don't know who that woman was. She's like, exactly, it was a hot mess. That woman in the red carpet was like, oh, Marilyn, there's someone special waiting for you at the hotel.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. At first I thought she was going to get like prostituted out again, because that's how she was throughout the whole movie. And then it turned out to be like that baseball player, the famous baseball player, who I did not know who he was either.
Yeah, I didn't know who anybody was. I think that JFK apparently showed up at some point in the film, and I don't even know who that was. Was that the guy at the very end?
When she jerked him off?
That was her. Okay,
that was him.
They didn't, like, I don't know. The story was just all over the place.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you need to be really savvy and, like, know the whole story for you to understand all the references that happen in the movie. Which, okay, I guess it makes sense because this movie is called Marilyn Monroe, or it's about Marilyn Monroe. So if you're watching it, they would have to assume that you have some prior knowledge to it. So we're kind of just like dumb because we went into this like completely blind.
Yeah, I guess so. But I still think that, like, when films are done really well, you should be able to go in without any prior knowledge and kind of be caught up and understand a little bit more of the character and be connected in some aspects, right? Because a lot of the people who were really, like, I saw reviews and stuff, and a lot of the people who actually are, like, Marilyn Monroe fans and know everything about her life were also very confused and disappointed. So even if we didn't have that knowledge, like, I think it's fine.
I think watching the movie verbatim and not knowing who Marilyn Monroe is, I liked the movie, but I thought it was really confusing. Not like confusing as in I couldn't follow the plot, but like I didn't like all the different changes and dynamics of like, okay, this is what's happening in her head and this is like reality and like all that different mix in there. But I understand why they did that, because the movie, they really portrayed Marilyn Monroe to be like this lost girl in a world of working men, where even from the beginning, she was like undershotted for her pay, and nobody took her seriously when she was auditioning to film.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I remember this one scene where she was reading for this one role, and she was like looking at the ladder, and I honestly thought she did really well.
At the very beginning, right?
Yeah, at the very beginning. I'm like, she's pretty good. Like, she's not just like, because they really want to portray her as like this dumb blonde who doesn't know anything except to look sexy. But I'm like, okay, well, she killed the reading, but then when she was leaving, that freaking director guy was like, all he could think of was like, oh, look at that sweet ass.
Yeah.
So it's like so the film did a really good job portraying the time, like the dynamics and the atmosphere of the time that they were in, where it was a industry for men, and women were not really taken seriously. So it was just like, even if you kill your role and like you have really good acting skill, they would only look at you as like this piece of meat.
Right.
And I think for her, is like, she really wanted to act and she was passionate about acting, but nobody in LA was taking her seriously, which is why she moved to New York for like the screenplay thing.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Like, when you think about when you like rethink about the movie, a lot of her life that was based in LA was like it was like very much like a joke. Like, even with the Gemini twin, like who the hell were they? Like, they contributed nothing to her life except freaking take nude photos of her and then freaking blackmail her to her husband.
Yeah.
Like, they really portrayed Los Angeles to be like this really toxic like atmosphere. And she couldn't get out of it until she moved to New York. But then I think that was already too late. Like, her mind was already jacked up from LA.
When she moved to New York, was it with like that guy that she married? I'm trying to remember now. Or was she still in LA with that guy? Like, when exactly did she move to New York? Like, they didn't really show that move clearly, did they?
I think it was after she broke up with the baseball player.
After he was like beating her?
Yeah, after
in the room?
Like beat the shit out of her because she was in that movie with the dress. That famous scene where the dress was flying up. Like, I recognize that part.
Yeah, me too, yeah.
So I did some additional reading after that. It said that the baseball husband, I'm just calling him out, the baseball husband, he was furious when he saw that. And that's when they got divorced. And this was in real life.
Right.
So they did mimic that in the movie. Like, whether or not he beat the shit out of her was up in the air. I didn't read that far.
Yeah, I have no idea, but it was definitely really sad because he seemed like he was like really on her side and he was like gonna help her and all that. And then at the end, it's like, really, that's how you're gonna end the marriage, is just like going psycho like that?
When was he on her side?
Well, like when he first like asked her to like marry him, he was like, I want to like take care of you, and you know what I mean? Like he was kind of shown to be a little bit more of like a safe person in a way, until that part when I was like, okay, wow, that's not what I was expecting.
But all freaking men are like that when they're trying to catfish you. Remember when, as soon as she married into his house, he like didn't even give a shit about her. He like just sat in his wife beater watching TV.
Oh yeah, I guess so. Yeah, he was one of those guys.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you know what? Before you meet me, I'm like your freaking Prince Charming, and then after you meet me, I'm like freaking Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
That's awful. Yeah, it's like the second that the ring is on her finger, like, transformation. Different man.
Yeah, and like, even when Marilyn Monroe was at his house, she was like, oh, like, these people who are talking to me, because I think she was talking to his family. She was like, oh, like, in real life, people interact like this forever. Like, there's no, like, how would I know when to stop? Like, it's not like in the movies where the person yells cut and I can just stop talking to them. Like, I just have to keep talking to them till forever. And he was like, well, that's real life. You remember that scene?
I don't even freaking remember that.
They were on the bed, and then she was like, oh my God, it's not like in the movies where we can just stop. Like, they just keep talking. And she didn't know how to react to that because her whole life was like a movie to her.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I don't even know. I found it so hard to follow like conversations for some reason. It was like really hard for my brain to register what the hell was going on.
Concentrated, man. I was like so concentrated in the movie.
That's
because
awesome.
I was like, yo, this is, I mean, even in the beginning I was kind of interested because I'm a sucker for that kind of backstory. Like that
Right.
like the freaking Lana Del Rey 1-2 step.
Right.
Lana Del Rey starter kit. I'm like a sucker for that.
Marilyn's my mother.
When she married the screenwriter, I was like, oh my God, I almost cried.
Really?
Deal. Yeah, because it was so cute.
His acting was really good too. Like Adrian Brody's a really good actor. When he showed up, I was like, "Oh my God, this is a light," because at least I can like enjoy the way that this man acts, and like I would be able to feel more connected to what the heck is going on when somebody like can play the role really well, right? Like I knew he would do a good job. So I think like from the scene when he popped up is when I was like a little bit more invested in what was going on. But before that, I was like, this is just absolute chaos. Like, a lot of people
I
were
think-
saying that they just, like, shut down the movie, like, after the first little while. They couldn't even watch it. And I feel like if we hadn't planned to talk about it, like, that would have been me. I would have been like, I'm not watching this.
Oh no, I definitely wouldn't watch it on my own because like I'm not the one to watch these kind of movies where it's like, what do they call it? Biographies?
Yeah, I feel like it's tricky with biographies, hey?
Like I wouldn't watch it unless we were talking about it, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't watch it again, but I thought it was an interesting movie because like I said, I'm a sucker for that Lana Del Rey backstory.
Yeah. I get it. That's good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. There was parts that I liked and parts that I was like, what the heck? Crazy town.
I just really felt for Marilyn Monroe in the movie. Or like her whole life, they made it seem like she was just searching for, I guess, someone to find her. Or like, not take care of her, but just like discover who she really was.
Right. I get what
Because
you're saying.
throughout the whole movie, even when she was in the Marilyn Monroe alter ego, I'm going to call it alter ego because she made a point by saying a lot of times that that's not her on the big screen. Like she saw herself as Norma Jean, and Marilyn Monroe was just this character that whoever that sleazy guy made up for her. Like he said,
Right.
he invented Marilyn Monroe for her. So like as she said in the movie, you know what? The person on the big screen, that's not me, Daddy.
Yeah.
Like you gotta look past all the glamour. Like maybe that's really what she was going through in real life. Like who freaking knows?
Yeah.
Like she died by ODing at the age of 36. So like she obviously went through some trauma.
Yeah. Absolutely. And there was also this whole like thing about the abortion thing, which I've heard people didn't like that.
Oh, but how it was like anti-abortion? I didn't understand that part at all. Like, why was it anti-abortion?
Maybe we should look it up and get on it. I think because she was like very upset about it, and they were showing the dark side of abortion. They were showing like the dark side of what somebody goes through when they make that decision, and the decision to potentially take away a life. I'm not, you know what I mean? That's kind of what they showed. They showed that she was traumatized by that, and she was hurt by having to get an abortion, and like maybe that's what it was. I don't know.
Yeah, but these people who are upset by it have to realize that she also changed her mind halfway through it, but she was forced to have an abortion.
Right.
It's like all you people who are upset saying like my body, my choice. Like she didn't have a choice. She was forced into an abortion. So I don't know why y'all are upset.
Maybe because she.
At least this is what happened in the movie. I don't know what happened in real life, but in the movie she didn't want to get rid of her baby.
Right. And then the second one happened by accident, so that wasn't her choice either. So maybe that's why people were mad, because it felt like it wasn't her choice. Or maybe they were mad because they showed the dark side of abortion, where she was like really traumatized by it. And sometimes I think I don't know.
I didn't read into it, but I think they're just mad because it kept giving like a guilt trip to Marilyn Monroe for her deciding to have an abortion. Because that's what I said. Like the whole reality of the movie is like it's like mashed up. So it's like when she decided in the taxi that she was not going to have an abortion, like she was already on the hospital bed, or was that like before? Because there was a scene in the hospital where she got away from it, but then it turns out to be she was already in the drug induced state. Like that wasn't real. Like she didn't actually get away from the abortion bed.
Yeah, I have no idea.
So I think this is what I assume. I think people didn't like it because it showed her having regrets of getting the abortion, and then that kind of haunted her.
That's
Throughout her whole journey, because when she was clipping the rose, she heard the voice of her baby saying, "Oh, you're not going to get rid of me this time, are you?"
That's what I was trying to say. Yeah, I agree. I think that's what it was. That they were showing the dark
Yeah.
side of abortion and how it can be like a haunting experience for a woman as well, right?
Yeah, it's like, dude, why are these people mad about this?
I don't
It's like,
know.
man,
I don't know.
People can't get upset after having an abortion. It's like, dude, it's not like, oh, I'm going to have an abortion, I'm going to celebrate the next day.
Well, yeah, because
It's like some people have regrets.
and you can't blame them for that. Like, can we not just like support that every woman, you know, has their own opinion, and like, you know, if you're all about my body, my choice, then you should be able to support people feeling however they feel and validating that. So why are you mad? Like, validate how she was feeling. Like, yeah, it can be a traumatic experience. Why is that so shocking? I don't get it.
Yeah, and especially when she didn't even want to have one.
Yeah.
Like, her career kind of forced her into it.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no, because in the movie, she was asking the doctor, like, whether or not the mental illness from her mother was going to be inherited or is going to be passed down. And I guess she was told that it could be, or there's a big chance that her baby will inherit the mental illness of her grandmother.
Right.
So I think that's when she decided to have the abortion. And who the hell were all those people in her life? Like that old man at the end giving her the injection of the needle.
I have to go. I don't know. I don't know.
Who was that? And who was that guy making her sing those songs? Like, who the was Billy?
What? Billy? I don't even know who that is. I don't know.
When she was singing that song, she was like, "You're making fun of me." She's like, "This song is about me." And then that old, like, Marilyn Monroe's handler was like, "Billy, you know she's not well."
I might have just, like, gone to the ether during that part. I don't even...
I think they expected too much from the freaking audience. Like, dude, okay, maybe, like, I should know more about Marilyn Monroe going into this, but, like, you gotta introduce these characters, man. Like, who are you?
I don't know.
Like, who's that? Who is that old man at the end taking care of her? Like, what happened to the first old man in the beginning of the movie? You know, the old dude?
I don't know.
With the hair?
I don't know. I don't even know who anybody was.
That old man in the beginning who was, like, his handler. Who's like, oh, he's got an appointment with you up the stairs.
Right. Yeah.
And Marilyn Monroe met him at the hotel lobby, and they were, like, having tea.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. Where did he go?
What the hell happened to him?
Oh my god.
And what happened to those two twins, the freaking Gemini sisters?
Who were they?
Like, why did they just...
They were like, we are the sisters. And then they were like, we're the Gemini twins.
Yeah, and then they just...
Marilyn's a Gemini, and I'm a Gemini, and my brother's a Gemini. I'm like, okay, so you're triplets then? Y'all ain't even twins. Like, what is going on?
And then they just... And then halfway through the movie, they just freaking disappeared. And then another halfway through the movie, they reappear with, like, the freaking naked photos for the husband. I was like, what the And then they reappeared at the end. He was like, oh, freaking what's his name killed himself. And he was like, oh, P.S. This is not your father, or whatever it's called. So I guess he was the motherfucker writing those notes to her throughout the whole movie, giving her a mental breakdown.
I don't even know. I feel like I'm having a mental breakdown trying to understand this, and I'm, like, just not gonna get it. And, like, I'm over it. I don't know. I don't know what any of that is. I don't know.
Do you remember at the end of the movie where the guy mailed her back the tiger?
Yes.
And in the box, there's a letter saying something about her father.
Yeah.
So I think that was implied that whoever was writing her those letters, that was her father. It was actually this jackass writing her the letter saying, oh, you know what? I was going to buy a movie ticket to your movie, but it was like, it looked too provocative, and it looked like not something that I would want to see. Oh. It's like, dude, you're literally behind the scenes triggering her.
Yeah. It'd be good to know if that actually happened.
It probably did, dude. The men in her life were so
Yeah, but they also made it seem like she was extremely delusional. So how do you know what's real and what's not? Like, for all we know, that could have just all been in her mind, the way that the movie portrayed her.
No, I think that part was real.
Yeah.
That's what tipped her off towards the end, where she, like, pumped all those drugs and drank that alcohol and, like, offed herself. Like, that letter.
That was, like, the final trigger.
That was, like, the that broke the camel.
Yeah, it was. So good. Had a great time.
We're done.
Let us...
10 out of 10. The movie was 10 out of 10.
4 out of 10.
If you go in there without expectation, the movie is good.
I didn't.
Okay, it was. I feel like I was already somewhat influenced by the critics saying, like, this was not a good movie, But like I still found it to be very interesting. I didn't think it was a hot mess altogether. Like I enjoyed their I enjoyed the artistic things, how like they sometimes they put things into color and they put things in like the black and white, and like they shrunk the aspect ratio of the film.
I like that too.
And how they mixed the real Marilyn Monroe, like the real scenes within the movie. Like they kind of like mix and match. I like that. I thought it was really artistic.
Yeah, I think that was really their like motive and their angle for a lot of it. They were really enhancing this blurred line, delusional, dream-like aspect, like between Marilyn, the girl who's playing Marilyn, the men in her life, the different periods of her life, like what was going on. Like that's what they wanted to portray, and I think that they accomplished that.
Do you recommend people watch the movie?
Personally, no, I wouldn't recommend it. I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it.
I feel like if you have time and you enjoy like cinematic art, then it's worth a watch.
All right, so you would recommend it to those people?
Not to everyone. Like it wouldn't be like, oh, you can watch this like with your family.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm not like some movie buff. Like I like watching movies that is entertaining.
Yeah, like I appreciated the art of it. I thought like the cinematography was good and all of that, you know, but I didn't like the storyline itself. Maybe I would have a better understanding of the film if I knew more about Marilyn, so I can't completely blame that on the directors and all of that. Yeah.
Okay, well there has to be someone who likes the movie, right?
Yeah, for sure. Of course. Like anything in life, yeah.
Okay, if you freaking hated the movie, like tell us why you hated it.
Yeah, and if you loved the movie, tell us why you loved it. Let us know your thoughts. We want to hear them all.
Because me, I don't know shit about
We don't know anything about Marilyn.
We don't know nothing.
No, we don't. Yeah, let us know. Let us know. We want to hear it.
I want to be loved by you.